Look, I know we didn't start off October with a ghost type, but better late than never, right? Because next up we have Golurk. This supremely cool Gen 5 Pokemon has a similarly cool set of inspirations. It's based on the Golem of Prague, who summons spirits for the dead, and explains Golurk's ghost typing. It also has a similar hue of green to the Statue of Liberty, which makes sense considering Unova is based on the New York City metropolitan area. Finally, although this isn't officially supported, it is very difficult to not see the classic movie, The Iron Giant, as a direct predecessor to Golurk. Today we're going to be examining if Pokemon's flying robot was able to achieve competitive success. And so, we ask, how good was Golurk actually? And in this video we'll be going over these competitive formats. Golurk is one of the few Pokemon that resist Terrakion's stab combination, and thus was considered by a few players desperate for answers to Choice Band Terrakion, ripping up Gen 5 OU. Sadly, it didn't take off, pun intended, because it didn't do anything other than handle Terrakion, and had many weaknesses easily exploited by the fast-paced OU metagame. Thus, it was relegated to the lower tiers, and there it's shown. We know that the tiering run can produce peculiar results, and Gen 5 Golurk is one of the best examples of that. It ended up in NU, but it was legitimately good in RU and UU as well. In UU, its fighting immunity was invaluable, given how dominant fighters were. It was especially excellent because it also resisted Heracross's stab Megahorn, and unlike other Pokemon that resisted both of Heracross's stabs, such as Crobat and Nidoqueen, it easily tanked Heracross's coverage moves. Crobat feared Stone Edge and Nidoqueen feared Earthquake, but Golurk feared nothing. After it had switched in by blanking a fearsome hit like Mienshau's high jump kick or Snorlax's body slam, it could set up Stealth Rock, or if it had already done that, it could smack the opponent around with its high attack stat and excellent stab combination, with Iron Fist making up for the lower power of Shadow Punch and also boosting Fire Punch, ensuring that Golurk slammed Bronzong and Ferroseed, while fully checking Zealous Heracross. It could use this same set to great effect in RU, switching in on and threatening out common Pokemon like Aerodactyl, Escavalier, and Uxie. It usually didn't want to risk switching in, but its Volt Switch immunity was invaluable to deter Magneton and the several Rotom forms in the tier from mindlessly spamming the move. Golurk wasn't just beholden to a Stealth Rock support set though. It could go all out offensive, using the Pokemon it switched in on as opportunities to launch devastating powerful Choice Banded attacks. It could also clean up late game with a Rock Polish set that fixed the issues of its speed and plowed through frailer offense teams. Being immune to Entei's extreme speed was invaluable for this. These sets were all solid with some flexibility to them, such as various resist berries thrown onto the Stealth Rock set, but near the end of the generation, a new rather eccentric set popped up, Choice Scarf. Scarf on a slow Pokemon was not unheard of, but it was still on the unusual side. That said, it was quite surprising, which could let Golurk get a sneaky KO on an unsuspecting would-be faster opponent like Gallade and Moltres, and it didn't lose effectiveness once the surprise was up, since its newfound speed increased the amount of Pokemon Golurk got opportunities to use its stab against. However, that wasn't the only unusual thing about the set. It also used No Guard instead of Iron Fist, which allowed Golurk to spam 100% accurate dynamic punches, whose guaranteed confusion was much more effective when coming from a place of speed. No Guard guaranteeing a Stone Edge hit was excellent as well. That wasn't even the last or most unusual thing about the set either. Both of those honors would go to the fact that it used Stealth Rock as well. Scarf Stealth Rock is also not completely unheard of, but it's also quite rare and finished off the truly bizarre oddity that was Scarf Golurk. It all came together in one strange, perfect storm to create a thoroughly effective set. Early game, it used its natural defensive traits to get up rocks, and then in the mid game, it'd be able to make full use of its resistances thanks to its newfound speed, maximizing the Pokemon it could threaten with its attacks. For example, while most sets would fail to effectively block Rapid Spin from Kabutops and Cryogonal since it was slower and weak to their stabs, if the Scarf set managed to switch in on the spin, then it would actually be able to threaten them out. To make matters even weirder, you would think this Golurk would fit on bulky offense teams like most other Golurk did, but the teams that liked and used this set the most were stall teams. Scarf Golurk transferred over to NU, where it was similarly effective. Being able to get the jump on the immensely dangerous Charizard and Jynx mid-game was incredible, as well as offering flexibility against others like Samurott, Rotom Frost, and Zangoose. It wasn't the only set Golurk could run though. As always, it could run a bulky Stealth Rock set that let it reliably counter Tauros throughout a game, while still hitting the opponent hard. Alternatively, it could be a little worse off against Tauros, by dishing leftovers in exchange for Pasho Berry, which let it stay in on and take an opportunity away from the dangerous Carracosta and Samurott, or Yacht Berry, which let it stay in on Rotom Frost and Sock. Speaking of Sock, no matter what set Golurk ran, having an immunity to its banded close combat was excellent. Golurk could also use Choice Band and Rock Polish sets to solid effect. It really could run whatever it wanted and still be good thanks to its typing, move pool, and stats all being solid. All in all, while Golurk never outright dominated the Gen 5 lower tiers, it was an incredibly solid, reliable Pokemon with a ton of great qualities. Also, imagine a flying robot wearing a scarf. Yeah, you're welcome. Gen 6 saw Golurk return to NU, where it was once again quite a solid Pokemon. However, as a result of power creep, it was no longer able to function in RU, let alone UU. Included among Gen 6's power creep was a buffed knockoff, which followed Golurk into NU, and, much to its irritation, forced it to run Colberberry. However, despite this item limitation, which pigeonholed it into only running one set, it was still a good Pokemon. It was an offensive Stealth Rocker setter with a stab move that absolutely railed Xatu. This made Golurk a reliable Stealth Rocker, which was key in NU given how many top tier Pokemon like Charizard and Scyther were weak to it. The Colberberry gave it opportunities to turn the tables on common dark types like Skuntank, Liepard, and Malamar, while also being able to effectively trade down with Girder. Another nice trait Golurk had was that it was able to hit common top tier hazard setters such as Rhydon, Mesprit, and Garbodor for massive damage with its stabs, meaning it could very easily get a hazard advantage for its team early game if they decided to switch out, as they often did, knowing they needed to be preserved for their defensive utility. Golurk wasn't very bulky without investment, which held it back once the early stages of the game had passed, as it struggled to do much of note against the many faster offensive threats in the metagame. Very often the best it could do would be something along the lines of pivoting into Hitmonchan fighting move or Rapid Spin, and then either acting as a sacrifice to get a teammate in safely while maintaining Stealth Rock, or pivoting out on the Ice Punch and preserving itself to be sacrificed later. It could try similar tricks against something like Scarf Rotom that wanted to Volt Switch, so it didn't lock into Shadow Ball and get pursued. When your defensive utility is that you might be able to sacrifice yourself so your teammate can switch in safely, you know it's limited. And this is what held Golurk back from being the widely useful Pokemon it was in the generation prior. However, as an early game offensive Stealth Rock setter that had no trouble with Xatu and threatened other hazard setters, Golurk was quite good, and thus had a nice place in the ORAS NU metagame. Power creep, this time of the Z move variety, had an adverse effect on Golurk once again, this time sending it tumbling below NU into the putrid depths of PU. It was once again limited to the same offensive Stealth Rock set from the previous generation's NU, and it was effective once again for similar reasons. It pressured other common Stealth Rock setters like Regirock and Torterra, allowing its team an early Rocks advantage, and it could beat hazard removers such as Skuntank and Hitmonchan one-on-one, making it a solid Stealth Rocker. It had a little more mid-game defensive utility as well, as it could thwart Lycanroc once, the fighting immunity was nice against Primeape's close combat, and it could stave off a Choice Band Aggron Head Smash. It wasn't limited to running Colberberry necessarily either. As long as it was careful around Skuntank, it could effectively run Yachtberry and Stone Edge, which would destroy unsuspecting Articuno and Rotom Frost, as well as make Golurk a decent makeshift spin blocker against Alolan Sandslash. Now, Golurk's low speed, frailty, and exploitable weakness still hindered it against many common offensive Pokemon, and it often had games where it simply set up Stealth Rock and was used as a sacrifice later in the game to get a teammate in safely. However, it also had several matchups where its unique traits came together to let it perform in no ways other Pokemon could have. Getting an early Stealth Rock advantage, maintaining those rocks, possibly checking a dangerous threat, or luring and destroying an unsuspecting opposing Pokemon with good prediction and moveset choices. Overall, despite its flaws, Golurk was solid. Its good qualities made it worth using, and it proved itself by succeeding in high-level tournaments. At the time of this video, Golurk is RU, where it's great, but it's also seen in UU for the first time since its inaugural generation. And there, it's not just good, it's terrific. Sword and Shield gifted it an excellent new Ghost Stab in Poltergeist, which was the rejuvenation needed for Golurk's Choice Band set. It is an absolute menace to switch into. It has terrific defensive utility, being able to check Terrakion and Cobalion from where it can launch its powerful attacks. When Jirachi was in the tier, Golurk checked it well with an Assault Vest, a set which remains solid now, as its Choice Band. But really, Golurk can run anything it feels like running, ranging from an all-out attacker, offensive Stealth Rock supporter, or Rock Polish sweeper, with items like Spell Tag to boost Poltergeist, while being able to switch moves without the recoil of Life Orb, Colberberry to thwart Crocodile and crunch Lycanroc, or good old Life Orb. It generally runs Iron Fist, but can easily shift over to No Guard with Dynamic Punch to make checking it even more of a pain. Speaking of fighting moves, Golurk is even more dangerous because it can now run a fighting move even if it's got Iron Fist, since it received close combat. Few fighting resists want to switch into Golurk since they fear Poltergeist. For example, the Slow Twins, Dual Blade, Noivern, and Necrozma. It is absolutely overflowing with coverage at this point, since it also received Heat Crash, allowing it to threaten Pokemon like a Escavalier, and Heavy Slam makes it even scarier to fairies like Sylveon. Oh, and it also gets Trick, as if it didn't have enough ways to mess walls up. That's just UU too. Golurk uses similar sets with similar flexibility, and is similarly excellent in RU, though Choice Band is its mainstay due to the incredibly spammable nature of its powerful stabs. Players began using itemless Pokemon like Galarian Slowbro to deny Poltergeist, but Golurk simply slapped on its old Iron Fist boosted Shadow Punch and made them pay. Alternatively, it can trick its Choice Band onto those Pokemon, crippling them and making them vulnerable to Poltergeist in one fell swoop. It's tough to say whether Golurk will retain its UU and RU status of such a never-before-seen excellence once the new batch of DLC additions rolls in, but its new additions will at least give it a fighting chance, and its newfound power means that whichever tier it ends up in, it's almost surely going to be unmatched in smashing through the competition. And that's it. So how good was Golurk actually? Well, it had the unique position of being solid in all three sub-OU non-Little Cup tiers in its debut generation. Power creep set in the generation after, and it was still good but thoroughly unspectacular in Gen 6 NU and Gen 7 PU. However, Gen 8 has blessed it with a slew of terrific new moves that has turned it into a superstar in both UU and RU. Even if the DLC changes that, it can't take away what Golurk has already achieved. You love to see Pokemon get buffs like this and succeed as a result. Going from decent to PU to an amazing Pokemon in UU with only a few new moves, most of which it doesn't even use most of the time, shows that it just takes a little attention from Game Freak to bring our favorites back into the competitive light. Here's hoping for more Gen 8 Golurk style treatments in the future. Thanks for watching, everyone, and as always, if you liked the video and you want to see more, be sure to subscribe to False Swipe Gaming for more weekly Pokemon content. And in the comments, I want to know, what do you think about competitive Golurk? What would you give it to make it OU? What would you give it to have it see VGC usage? Whatever it is, let me know in the comments. Also, thank you so much to our patrons for continued support of our videos, and thank you to everyone else watching as well. And follow my crew on these social media platforms. And that's all I got. See you next time, everyone.